All right, listeners, I am here with Karen Thompson from Ask Resource Center. It is a nonprofit that I am near and dear to, as I sit on the board about a year now. It's coming up on, I think December makes a year, and it's doing amazing things for families. And I just want to make sure that I help actually push what the mission, vision, and value is for the organization out there, because so many nonprofits doing amazing work. Ask Resource Center is not one that's known sometimes when I bring it up across Iowa. And so we got to make it more known because they're doing amazing things. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
You're very welcome. So if you could just give the listeners just a quick overview of Ask Resource Center, what it is and what it's set up to do.
Sure. ASK stands for Access for Special Kids Resource Center. But by kids, we do serve the lifespan. We serve all types of diagnoses for disabilities and special healthcare needs. Predominantly, we're working with caregivers and parents, family members, of individuals who experience some sort of disability or special healthcare need. But we may sometimes actually work with the person themselves, the individual themselves, especially if they've moved into the young adult phase of self-advocacy. Yeah. And we exist to provide unbiased, objective, factual information and resources, training, and one-to-one professional advocacy support for families and individuals so that they can be empowered with the information that they need to navigate educational systems, healthcare systems, insurance systems, all of those things that go with receiving a diagnosis, and there's this whole new world that you're exposed to and have to understand how to utilize.
Okay. So if a listener's out there, and again, this is Ask Resource Center is set up for Iowa families, but we're going to talk more about how other families can access it. But if there's a family in Iowa they just got the diagnosis, they're wondering, what do we do? When Jamie and I had our diagnosis with Tyler, the first thing is, where are our resources? We go online, and sometimes you get lucky and you find a place like Ask. Sometimes you're searching. But if we've got a new family listening or a young family that's not heard of Ask before, they're in the state of Iowa, where can they go initially to get all the information they need and the support early on?
So if you're in the state of Iowa, Ask is a great place to go to find what you need. Even if you're looking for something other than what we offer, the informational support and the navigational support that you're going to receive from us one way or another, whether that's from online resources on our YouTube or our resources tab of our website, is packed. We have scads of information. We vet it. So we know what is good that is coming from someone else, and a lot of it we write ourselves. All of us on staff are people with lived experience. We're all caregivers and family members ourselves. Many of us also have disabilities ourselves, so walked this walk for a very long time. Our board members are the same as well. So the small shop at Ask is made up of people who have been there, done that, and we're there to help others. So we say sometimes all you have to do is ask. Okay. And so that means when you get that diagnosis, ask us. Yep. Whether it's going to the website, giving us a call, talking to one of the staff members, we will help plug you into what you need in terms of local resources. We know what's available. We know what's right and what's wrong in terms of rights and responsibilities. And we can help plug you into all of those things for the state of Iowa.
Yeah. And for the listeners, again, like before, Ask will be on our website for lovebeingadad.com, where we highlight it. You'll have access to connecting to their website at askresource.org and all the things there, a little bit more about it from the website. We'll put some of those connections there for you. The other one for the listeners that are not in Iowa, but this is available across the country in the United States. And we'll put this also on the website and under the tab for Nonprofit of the Month. We'll give access. But where could somebody go, let's say, that's listening in Pennsylvania, California, Oregon? We've now fortunately got 32 states represented that have at least come and downloaded a podcast. So where can others go?
Sure. So there are two foundational federal grants that we operate off of. They give us the basics, the basic funding support, and drive the mission for what it is that we're working in, the buckets of work that we do, which is education, special education on one side, and then healthcare insurance on the other side. Those two federal grants on the education side, it's called the Parent Training and Information Center, or the PTI, because of course we love our acronyms, federal government land. And on the healthcare side, it's called the F2F, the Family to Family Health Information Center. We are not pass-throughs through state organizations. These are direct federal grants from the Federal Department of Ed, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, directly to a community-based nonprofit in each state that is run and led by families with lived experience. For each of those prongs, there's a National Technical Assistance Center that runs a website that you can go to find the resources in your state. So for education, it's called Parent Center Hub. That's all one word, parentcenterhub.org. And you go to that and you will find a button that says, find your parent center. You click on the interactive map and the states come up and you will see where the parent training and information centers are in each state. Most states have one. Some of the larger states have more than one. It's population based.
Okay.
For the family to family health information centers, it's a federal entity. It's called Family Voices. And again, you can go to familyvoices.org. And again, you will find a list of all of the funded F2Fs in the country. Now, for F2Fs, there is just one in every state. They don't use a population-based formula. It's just there's one named in each state. Now, I do have to say, if you can't remember all that, Parent Center Hub, the one to remember, because if you go to your PTI and use that it's easy to remember, parentcenterhub.org. And if you go to that interactive map and say, you call your PTI and you say, but I want some health information and resources, guaranteed the PTI in the state is going to know who the F2F is. Oftentimes we're the same entity, but sometimes we're not. So they will know who to connect you to.
Yeah. And again, listeners, we will put that parentcenterhub.org link in our page as a resource for you to go to and find out where in your state you can go and make that contact as well. Karen, let's talk a little bit about the resources. You talked about that a bit, and I'd look at what it is as a family we need. Initially, it's that support of understanding how do we, first and foremost, go through the education system, because once we get our kids' diagnosis, a lot of times early on, we're getting early interventions. Then we're going to go into the public school system. And for us, already at age 3, they're talking about IEPs. And for the listeners, last week on our podcast with Dr. McNiff, he and I talked about, as dads, that whole process of IEPs and why dads need to be there. From the education standpoint, how does Ask Resource work with families around that IEP process? Or how can the families get help from Ask around that process? Because initially, that's one of the first things that hit you as a family in the face, and you got you against the educators is the feel to it. What does Ask do for that?
Yeah, so we have 4 different buckets of support that we offer, or 4 different prongs that you could connect to. I think people who are new in the process and maybe they've either just received a diagnosis or maybe they haven't received a diagnosis, but they're thinking something feels like we need to try to push this.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you do that, you might find that the professionals involved feel differently. And then that's a very scary and lonely place to be. And there are specific things that can help you walk through that process, specific words to use, ways, template letters that can help, those kinds of things. And so a lot of people start with our information and dissemination of that information. So a lot of people start by going to the website, going to the resources tab, looking up education or special education, IEP 504, and just reading through some of those resources, looking at a couple of the trainings that are recorded on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's a great place to start when you're just gathering information. We also have an e-newsletter. You can sign up for it in the footer of the website. And it goes out every 2 weeks and blasts information that we've learned about, events, those kinds of things. The events tab on the website will point you to all of the trainings that we have going on around Iowa. Many of those are education based. Some of them are healthcare based, but we're doing trainings all over Iowa throughout the year. And they're often specific to subtopics. So it might be education, might be IEP. For instance, last year we did about a 4-week-long series on seclusion and restraint. We've done another one on just disciplinary practices in general. What is a prior written notice? What is stay put? And when can you invoke stay put? What are your procedural safeguards? All these things that are the layers underneath that you have to unpack. If I need to request an evaluation, what is the best way to do that?
Yes.
So that's great information that you can get online or through trainings that we're offering. However, if you need one-to-one support because you can't find what you need, or you've got an issue that's emerging and you really need one-to-one advocacy support, we have professional advocates on staff. Again, they're family members. They've walked the walk. You can go to the Contact Us page on the website, fill out the information. We'll ask you for some information because we want to be prepared when we talk to you, and use your time wisely. We'll send you some resources up front, and then you go in, it's first come, first serve. This time of year is busy. Spring is also very busy. So oftentimes it takes us maybe a day or two to give you a call back, but we'll have a professional advocate who will contact you back and talk with you, point you to specific resources, help you write those letters, read an IEP with you, help you know what essential questions to ask. Sometimes if it's a really serious issue, we might be able to attend an IEP meeting with you or an IFSP meeting with you. We get so many requests for that, and we have more requests than we do funding and staff to provide it. So most of the time, we are prepping you and debriefing you. And also because we want you to get to the place where you're empowered to be your own advocate.
Right.
We should be able to do a good enough job with you that we become obsolete in your lives. And maybe you check in every once in a while for a question, but you shouldn't need us over time. So then that's one piece. And then the last piece, we have a statewide cadre of volunteer mentors who are, again, family members who have been there, done that, and they've received mentor training from us and then ongoing resource training from us. Now, if you have some specific, fairly high need going on, we'll start with the professional advocates. But once you just need some support with navigation or information, we may then pass you off and have you work with one of our volunteer mentors who can help you with that process as well. And they'll interface with you as long as you need. We have mentors and mentees that just become good friends. Yeah. That's the whole idea, to develop grassroots networks across the state.
That's awesome.
So, and same thing in the healthcare world too. Those same services are available. I also want to mention those services are free.
All free. Yeah, that's
all
it.
Free.
That's an important piece, by the way. And we're going to get towards the end here why we want to highlight Ask Resource. Those of you in other states, why you want to get involved and tapped into your family resource centers as well. But they are free. So that's one of those things, folks. You cannot beat that price tag. Plus, when we look at, because one of the events I want to talk about is the first Saturday in May every year for those families in Iowa. Talk about that event, Karen, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's lovingly known as the TWC, which stands for the Together We Can Conference. It is always the first Saturday in May. It's at the Varied Industries building at the state fairgrounds. So it's in the middle of the state. Do that on purpose so that families can travel to it. And it is a 1-day long, developed by families for families conference centered around all things related to special healthcare needs and disabilities. It's 1 day. It includes a large exhibit fair. Many people can get connected to other supports and services that way. We start with a keynote, and then each year the planning committee decides exactly what the tracks are going to be and who the speakers are going to be for those tracks. But in general, we always have an education track, a health and well-being track, and a disability law track at a minimum. And oftentimes there's also post-secondary transition and other things going on at the same time. About 300 families attend this conference. We would love to see it grow to 400 this year.
Yep.
There are some scholarships to help people who are traveling from far and wide to get there. We will provide you with information on some hotel rooms that you can get. We have daycare on site provided by Easter Seals, Bob and Billy Ray Child Development Center, so that regardless of the needs of your child, you can have them right there on site. You can run back and forth between the sessions and seeing your child if you'd like. So that's what the Together We Can is.
Then the other thing I want to talk a little bit about and promote for those, especially around the state in Iowa. But again, there is some online learning that if they're not in Iowa, they could tune into, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, the one-on-one support is something that's really for Iowa families.
Right.
But any of our webinars, our YouTube channel, the information that's online, and even Together We Can conference, we have people travel from across state lines.
Yeah. So again, folks, you go to the website. Again, we'll have that on our website that you can link to, but under the events tab, there's a number of events. Those things will be there for you. Some of them are online, some of them are face-to-face. But Karen, if you could, promote the respect training, because that's another one. Again, it's at a great price point. In fact, for schools that worry about funding, we help with that. And again, not enough people know about it. But talk about the respect training that's going on across Iowa, that there's still a little bit of time that some of those folks could get into.
Yeah, so respect training is one of our most sought after trainings. It's a kind of a heavy lift because it's 4 days long.
Yeah.
It is not 4 days in a row. However, the first day is online. You have an entire month to do it. It's self-paced. And then the next 3 days after that are spaced out about 1 month, 1 day a month.
Yep.
So it takes about 4 months to go through respect training. Respect is also an acronym. It stands for recognizing everyone's strengths through peace building, empathizing, communicating, and trust building. Really, what that means is understanding how to be respectful of one another when you're functioning on a team like an IEP team or a 504 team or a health planning team, and you're the family member, you're there with professionals. Conflict is going to arise. It should. It's natural. Not everybody is going to agree on what to do, and there's no one right answer. Respect training is for anyone who might participate in a team. We have educators, administrators, social workers, counselors, and family members in the classes together. Again, it's free. And really what we're teaching you to do is be that informal mediator who helps everyone not be afraid of differing viewpoints so that you can come together and lead conversations toward the best outcome for the child.
Not only is it free, for those of you in education, you can get some of your credits there as well.
You can. There are graduate.
Not free, but
yeah, you do have to pay for the credits. There are graduate credits available, teacher and para licensure, social work licensure, CEUs, foster parent training credit. And also, if you're an educator and you're on the clock, we will pay your district a stipend so that they can afford your substitute while you come to respect training. If you're a family member and you need support to offset the cost to get to the training days, we can stipend you for that as well.
So again, folks, that is key. I want to make sure that we give you resources, but not only resources, in this case, resources that are going to pay you to come and help you with that, the worry about a school district, the worry about a sub. Man, I work with a lot of educators across the country, and this is one of those, you can't beat this. You can get, your credits for a very low price in comparison to what other credits are. And you can say to your administrator in the school, hey, they'll pay for my sub. It ain't going to cost you anything.
Absolutely.
And again, there's no other trainings out there, folks, hardly that are going to do that for you. So that being said, there's two things I want to also focus on as we wrap up here. How can people help? Because we do, and you talked about, we do get some federal money, but it doesn't cover everything because you said we're so busy with certain things, we just don't have the people and the resources. We need that. And so how can people who are listening, who